Hey everybody, back here in my hotel room, Pontiac, Michigan, talking about wealth creation in our urban communities, and really it could be rural communities, could be suburban communities. These principles work all around the world. I've taught them in Africa, I've taught them in America, I've taught them lots of different places. And what I want to talk to you today is the SureFire money making scheme. There is created this money making scheme that just can't go wrong. And the secret to this money making plan is called work. Work is a surefire money making scheme. And it's something that is not, in Christian circles, sometimes we think about work as the curse, that somehow we sinned and so we have to work. But we were created to steward. We were created to steward the earth and its resources. And so work is a part of what we were created to do and be. And in a fallen world, work has a lot of key implications here. First, work brings pleasure to the world. When you experience the pleasure of a great meal or you watch and enjoy a great movie, you're experiencing the fruit of someone else's labor. Work brings pleasure to the world. So when you serve others and when you work, you're helping to make the world a better place. And so that's a God-honoring thing. I remember one of the best days of my life is when my firstborn son, my oldest son, just became old enough where I could trust him to cut the grass without cutting his feet. And it was a glorious day. And about that same time, my daughter was learning to bake. And so one of the best days of my life is as I stood inside my kitchen looking and surveying my backyard, watching my son cut the grass as I dipped a warm chocolate chip cookie freshly baked by my daughter, and I began to eat that. It was a glorious thing. Their work brought pleasure to my life. It was amazing. And when we serve people, we do that. The world is a better place because we are working. Second, work alleviates pain. There's a lot of pain and suffering in this world, and work alleviates pain. If you think about times when you were suffering, I think of a time when I had a kidney stone and I went to the hospital and there was a lot of pain involved, but they helped alleviate that pain. The doctors and some key pharmaceutical companies helped alleviate that pain in my life. So if you look even from miners and farmers, and they're alleviating pain all around the world and helping the world become a better place. Third, work brings meaning to life. If you don't work, you're missing out on a big part of bringing meaning to your own life. There's something special, the satisfaction of a job well done. That's why I'm not a fan of a universal basic income, because it's going to bring less meaning to the world, even though the idea is to help people come out of poverty. I think there's better ways to do that. The number one way to bring people out of poverty is entrepreneurial leadership. But work brings meaning to life. There's a story in Chuck Colson's book, Why America Doesn't Work, about the Nazi internment camps and some of the experiments that they would do with those that were basically enslaved there. And one experiment is they would take a big pile of rocks and move it to the other side of the camp. The next day, they would take the pile of rocks and move it back. And then they go back and forth. And basically, this meaningless activity drove people crazy because we were meant to make a difference. Work brings meaning to the world. And the last one is that work is a partnership with God to see the world become a better place. In the New Testament, the times of the New Testament, when they were written, manual labor was frowned upon. There was a stratification of society, and the philosophers were at the top. Those that did the work of thinking, and they could sit around and just ponder great thoughts all day long. And these were the philosophers, and they're at the top. Then you had the freemen and the tradesmen, and they would do skilled labor and that kind of stuff. And at the bottom were the slaves. They would do the manual, the kind of that menial labor. And there was that stratification of those who were looked down upon. But interestingly enough, the Christian faith, born out of a Jewish context, brought dignity to the labor. The rabbi would say, if you don't teach your son a trade, you teach him to steal. And here you have Jesus, who could really wipe the floor with all the philosophers. He knows everything about everything. but at the same time, he could also build you something. And as a carpenter, he worked with his hands and he knew the dignity of labor. And then you have the Apostle Paul, also a tent maker. He worked with his hands and he would preach about minding your business and work hard at home so that you can be a blessing to others. He said, if you don't work, you shouldn't eat, because you're made to be a contributor to the society, not just a consumer. And so work is a partnership with God. Whatever you do with your hands, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might, serving the Lord, not just man, not just your human employer, but you're serving as unto the Lord. The same Hebrew word for work is the same Hebrew word for worship, avodah. And so these four things help us frame our mindset about work. When you work today, you're making the world a better place. You're alleviating pain. You're bringing pleasure to the world. You're bringing meaning to your life, and you're worshiping your Creator. And it's a surefire money-making scheme. All right, I'm signing off for now. Godspeed.